Good morning and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 76. Wow, 76 already. Spirit of 76, our nation's 250th birthday is coming up in 3 weeks. Everything's so red, white, and blue, yeah? And so, the thing I'm going to talk about today is going to exemplify, give you a perfect example of how to make something so confusing that you're breaking laws. I mean, not laws. You're breaking the rules right under people's noses, and you're saying, "But we were okay with it." And I touched on it last week, and I decided to look into it because I remember back. Oh, this is a few years back. There was a movie called "The Greatest Game Ever Played." Yeah, and it was a story about Bobby Jones. Well, Bobby Jones, the American, all American amateur, whatever. But anyway, Bobby Jones, if you don't know, he was an amateur golfer. In fact, the Masters golf tournament in Augusta, Bobby Jones, I don't know if he owned the I know he designed that course. That's Bobby Jones' course, the Masters and the Augusta in Atlanta, Georgia. And Bobby Jones was a true amateur. Never took any money, loved the game of golf. He won the Grand Slam. The Grand Slam is when you win, um, was that the US Open, the Players, the PGA, and the um, British Open. You win all four the same year or something like that. Um, anyway, he, in the movie, he had a friend who was a writer. And in those days, newspaper writers were very, very important people. I mean, they were really great. I mean, they were good writers. And they were in a bar, and this guy, said, told Bobby Jones, you're stupid because you know how much money you could make turning professional. And the writer punched the guy, and he said, is what's going to kill the game. And it's true. Remember, I told you money, power, money, and power. That's the greatest corrosive corruptors that we know in civilization. And well, it's touched another sport, and that was college athletics. I looked into it, okay, because I was saying, how are they getting away with this? How is it possible? Because I thought that you got to be on, NCAA does not allow professionalism. Well, it turns comes to find out NCAA, I don't know if they formed it or they're in cahoots with it, but they have this organization called NIL. Yeah. And it doesn't stand for National Illiterates, Liberation or whatever. It means name, image, likeness. Put all three together. When a company pays you for one of the three, what is that? That's an endorsement. You're getting paid for using your name, using your image, or using your likeness. That's an endorsement. That you're getting paid for your sport. They're not paying you all this money to be a great scholar. It's what you can do athletically, right? That's an endorsement. And it's allowed. Now, okay, there are it's so complex. It is so complex. Number one, the colleges can give their players a stipend. Okay, just a stipend. A stipend is spending money. Yeah, living expenses. But the colleges are capped at $20.9 million per year. $20.9 million. How much you gonna, how high on a hog do your players gotta live? But that's just from the college. That's what they're capped at. Now you got this NIL thing, okay? The only rule there is that anything above $600, any deal you make with any company or anything for over $600, you have to report to this NIL. But there is no cap, and they say they're talking about it now as to how much you can make. Now, players like LeBron James, he went straight from high school to to the pros, and you have some players like that. Um, there's this runner. He's like he was 16 years old. Now I think he's 18. But at 16, he was doing world record times. You have them. Like I said, the bell. You get the exceptions, right? Okay, you do have those exceptions. But college, those 4 years in college, in those 4 years, you mature more physically. Okay, your body at 18, your body's still not excuse me, it's not through with its development. You're still developing. Um, I know several players when I played with them in high school, scrawny little kids. Oh, you should have seen them after they came out of college. And I'm not talking about football, okay, because I hung around more of the football players. But yeah, when they came out of college, they were buff. They were freaking beasts. That was what college was for. That those 4 years, okay, they say, oh, it's only 4 years. But you got to remember, you're only 18 when you go in there. 4 years, that's one quarter of the 18. You know what I mean? And that's a developing quarter. Yeah, your body grows, you grow from baby, you grow up and everything, in height and everything, but not muscular. You get to the muscular around ninth grade. Yeah, because from my ninth to 10th grade, I picked up 65 pounds. Of course, that's with a little bit help, juice. Yeah, little chemical, little pharmaceutical help. But yeah, you just start lifting, you just grow bulk. Yeah. And in college, it's even more because the intensity, the coaching is there because you really, these college players, I used to hang around college players, okay? And that's how come I got screwed up because I was not a college player, but I lived like them, and I got a grade point average that's commensurate with that type of lifestyle, okay? Let's just put it that way. Anyway, these guys, they worked out, they lifted, they were handheld through their classes, most of them. Some of them, this is no joke, a lot of them just have above maybe a sixth grade level of reading, writing, and reading comprehension. That's just the way the system is. You're not there for your intellect. You're there for your physical prowess. You're there for your physical ability. That's why your college wants you there. Look at the movie Forrest Gump, my favorite, one of my favorite movies. He had an IQ of 75, yet he graduated, Bama. Don't laugh. That's not fiction. That can happen. A lot of these guys, I mean, they did. That's the stereotype, right? Of an IDL or ODL. IDL or IOL. This interior defensive lineman or interior offensive lineman. And the lineman is supposed to be duh, but not really. When you're a lineman, you gotta know your assignments. Um, More offensive than defensive. But anyway, I'm trying, digressing again. Back to the college. When you're in college, you're really building up. You're not mature yet, okay? But the pros are watching you. Pros are watching you all the way. And if you've got possibility, they want a stake in you, okay? And also, you're developing now. What happens when you graduate college and then you come into all this money through your pro career? What happens to a lot of them? A lot of them cannot handle the money. Yeah, they go stupid. And you want to weed that out, because if they go stupid and they're a part of a professional team, they could quite possibly do something to drag that professional team into court for damages. Yeah. And also, the professional team doesn't want to invest $30 million into a player that turns out to be a dud. So what do? You start in the farm, like how professional teams have A, B, C, the different farm teams. Okay, the football don't have that. Okay, baseball has that. Basketball doesn't have that. Okay, so it would behoove football and baseball. Excuse me, football and basketball. I'm getting my spots all mixed up. Football and basketball to have farm teams. Well, they can't. That's expensive to run a farm team. Why not just give endorsements to the players that you're looking at? Give some money and watch what they do. See how they handle. Because in college, you not only you not only grow physically up here. You supposedly supposed to excuse me, supposed to mature, because you go from adolescence, school, juvenile, to adulthood. Okay, the responsibility are way different now. Like they say, when you're a juvie, when you get 18, your record gets, for the most part, okay, for the most part, your record is sealed. You juvie, they gonna need, you know, court orders to open up that record. But everything you do from the time you're 18 on stays for the rest of your life. You're an adult now. You're in big boys court. You go to big boys jail. You go to big boys everything. Yeah, that's what we used to tell suspects. No, brother, you're 18 now. You're an adult. You don't need your mommy and daddy for questioning. You don't get to have them. Yeah, you have the right to remain silent. Use it. But anyway, so the kids are they still maturing. I mean, even after that, look at they had a football player. What, last year, took his car. He's doing like 120 in his Corvette, and he hit somebody, killed him. Yeah, well, that went his career. But see, he was a professional already. The 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 pro teams, if they could have a way of um, filtering out these troubled children, wouldn't you think they would take it? And how the pro teams can't take it, but they can take it through the endorsements of the private companies. You see, it's mired in complexity. And I told you that the more they want control, the more complex they make it, and people are going along with it. Even Congress, yeah, they said no, 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 no. The players should be paid. What? For what? You in college to get educated, not to see how fast you can run on 40. You know, when did it shift? I know it's always shifted, right? Like I said, it's always been like that. We just never let it out. Now you see the dirt. The dirt is just to the surface now. It's all in the open. As we say in Hawaii, the kukai is on the ground. Kukai is fecal, feces, doo doo. Yeah, the kukai is on the ground. It's out. It's floating. It's on the surface. And that's what that NIL is. And that being that's going to be the end of college, college sports. Really, they're going to put the responsibility of being better on the school levels, high school levels. And in high school, you in the ninth grade, you're a freshman. A lot of these okay, I only can talk about what happened to me, right? Okay, I was big all my life. I could never, and I love football, but I could never play Pop Warner, Bantam, Little League because I was so big. They had limits as to what size you could be, and I was well beyond those limits. So in ninth grade, I had to play. And then you get these kids coming up through the night, through the Pop Warner and the Little League and everything. And they always went against kids their own size, yeah? And so they make the turn and they come into this 300-pound lineman who hits them and flies them into tomorrow and knocks the wind out of them. You gotta see their eyes, in their in the helmet. Oh, and after that, when they put their hand down for the 3-point stance, the hand actually shaking, and you over there thinking, "I got this sucker." So it makes you look like, wow, you're really a good player, but you're not. It's just that the kid in front of you is so scared he ain't hitting you. You know that already. Just on the side, boy. Get out of my way. Big difference when you go from, into sports. Now you got 4 years, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Sometimes 5 years. They get 5-year players. But you get 4 years. Again, 4 years, right? To make the jump from actual starting to college. Okay, college, that's a big jump. And then from college to pros, you get the creme de la creme from high school that go to I'm talking about Division 1 top school colleges. Okay, I'm not talking about Division 2, Division 3, whatever. I'm talking Division 1 creme de la creme, SEC, that kind of college programs. And so to go from high school to that college, you gotta be creme de la creme of the nation, of the world, actually of the world now, because we had a place kicker at the University of Hawaii this past season, who was the player of the kicker of the year for the NCAA, and he's from Japan, and he learned how to kick watching the internet and practicing. We have world class volleyball players from Yugoslavia, from Eastern Europe. Yeah, so it's worldwide. Why? Because they love the game. No, baby, show me the money. Show me the money. Well, now they can see the money a little bit easier because they're in college, and college is going to weed them out even more. And the immature ones are going to wrap themselves, and they're already doing it. Yeah? 18, 19-year-old kids wrapping themselves around the poles in their nice brand new fancy fast cars. Yup. Mentally, they're not ready for that kind of money. But, the powers that be says, yep, let them have it. Let them have all this stuff. Give them as much rope as they want. Let them hang themselves. Thank God, better you than me. They really care. Compassion, yeah? See, money. Grab a dollar bill. Look at the dollar bill. Well, I only can afford a dollar bill. If you want to grab a C note, go grab a C note. And make that picture on that C note laugh. I tell people, yeah, take the dollar. Okay? Face them. Make George Washington laugh. They go, what? Yeah, make him laugh. Come on. Make him laugh. Cannot. Okay, they make them cry. Cannot. Make them gasp in astonishment. Like that. Cannot. You know why? It's just some picture. Exactly. It's totally emotionless. Money has only one purpose: to be an international unit of barter. Well, that's what its origin was. International unit of barter for goods. This goods is worth two units. You have a dollar bill, which is 1 unit. You give them 2 units, and you get it's just a unit of exchange that would be universally accepted. Before that had gold, but kind of hard to carry around, all this gold in your pockets. Plus, easier to get ripped off. So they had coins, and then they went to paper money. But our paper money was backed up by gold. Was Then it wasn't, and they went the the stretching of the money. But anyway, that's another talk. It's gonna be on economics, and I really that's a boring talk. I don't I re- I'm really gonna be desperate when I start talking about economics. But yeah, you see the complexity. So in other words, they turn these amateurs, and oh yeah, after all of this pay that these kids are getting, they still amateurs. Yeah, they don't consider them paid. If you make money from your endorsements, you get a 1099. You have to you yeah, you of course you got to pay taxes, right? Of course. The government going to say, "Yeah, you can make all this money, but you got to pay your taxes." Oh, sorry. So you have to file your taxes, but you get a 1099. A 1099 is just IRS's way of saying, "Yeah, you got an income." It's not a wage, it's not salary, it's not earned income, but it's still income. Like if you get dividends, you get a 1099 DIV. Interest, 1099 INT. I get Social Security, I get a 1099 SSA. It's not income per se of like wages and stuff like that, but it's incomes that you still got to report. Okay, so these guys, they get paid income. And if so, they don't have to become a licensed corporation. Okay, I don't understand I thought that if you get a 1099, you have to be registered with somebody, and you just got to be registered as an athlete in the program. That takes care of everything. Like I said, this is very confusing. You know, in all my years of growing, if you were an athlete and you got paid, you were a professional. But because they get a 1099 instead of a W-2, which is what we get if we get a job, just that difference. Oh no, they're not paid. They're still amateurs. You see, how is that's not possible? They get paid. They're pros, but no, they're not. Look at the Olympics. The Olympics were supposed to be for amateurs, right? Who was our dream team? All professional basketball players. Who breaks the law? Who breaks the rules? The country that's supposed to say, "Oh no, we stand by the rules. We always play by the rules." Well, the only thing is we rewrite the rules so that we can play like that. I mean, if I could rewrite the rules of every game, shit, I would never lose. Yep, that's how it is, folks. That's like I said, money just corrupts perfectly. It's the most corrosive thing you get. Throw money in anything, and that writer was right. Money is what's gonna kill golf. And look at golf today. They're hurting. Yeah, the PGA is hurting. Um, Not that many guys are getting into it. There are less courses now. It's still big, internationally, but even internationally, because of the money it takes to run a golf club. Well, like Japan, they don't have a lot of land. And so what these guys do is they have multi-level driving ranges. Yeah, it's just like an apartment building and you're eating out of a room. You know, well, it's not a room. It's just sanctioned up. And the reason why I know this is um when I used to play, I would walk out on a public course in Waikiki called Alawai, and because I guess I'm easy. I'm out there just to stretch, just to go walking and to just for myself. So the starter knew this. His name was Shannon, and once in a while they'd have these couples from Japan that they play golf. I mean, they don't play. They hit ball. They don't have the money to play on a course. So they come to Hawaii and hey, all of a sudden they can play on a course and they just gotta rent clubs and they don't mind walking, or they'll even rent, they rent carts. And Shannon will hook me up with them, and then we'll go out. And I mean, every hole we take pictures. You know, they even took pictures of my feet because, they're tiny little feet. And then you get my walk on water feet, right? And they would take pictures of me, our feet together. And I mean, they spoke mostly Japanese, and I speak some Japanese. So I mean, you can communicate. You can, and you can make it a very enjoyable. And Shannon knew that that I do that, and so he always hooked me up with these couples, you know, and through talking with them, I understood that how hard it is in Japan. A lot of them won't don't they never played around the golf. This was the first course they've ever played. Came to Hawaii, and then they found out they could play golf, and they both golf, so they played, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I mean, they're. I mean, first time on a course, right? So they all over the place. So we take longer. It may take us almost 5 hours to run. And this is only a about 7,100 yard course. It's a short course, but take us about 5 hours. And then the guys come from behind us. I tell my couple wait, mate, and I tell the guys play through, and they play through, and they're older too, and they we kind of know each other over there. So it's a very relaxed, it's an enjoyable round. I know some of these guys, they say, "Oh man, I played a round in 3 hours." Did you have fun? You know, I went. One time I had this couple. Well, it was a couple. Two ladies, two Korean ladies, older Korean ladies. They were playing. They gotta go. They gotta go. Yeah, bushes. All right, my kind of people. But yeah, that's what they did. But they just wanted to have fun, and that's what recreational sports. Well, look at what's happening to the. I mean, I'm talking about tracks, water volleyball. Whatever sport the school is in. Players are they're eligible for stipend. They don't all get the same stipend. Don't even think about it. Come on. Like UH just went to the legislature for 5 million. See, that 20.9 million is supposed to be from ticket sales and whatever deals that they can make, but also from the booster clubs. Yeah, well, I don't know how close to the 20.9 million our team is at, but they went to the state legislature and asked for 5 million. Yeah, so you know we may have the highest cost of living. That means we got the least money to give because all of our money is for to stay alive. So yeah, they got the 5 mil. Now I don't know what their total budget is. Nobody knows. They're not saying anything. Yeah, but like I said, their cap is 20.9. They're gonna be trying to get to that 20.9. But that's my spiel for today. NIL. Remember that. NIL. Name, image, likeness. That's gonna be the downfall of sports. These kids, they're gonna push themselves so hard, they're gonna end their career before the thing even begins. Why? For that almighty dollar, folks. That almighty corrosive element that isn't on the periodic table, but it bought the periodic table. Anyway, you have a good week. I know it's fast. 30 minutes already. But you guys have a good week. Love you all. Tell your friends, like and subscribe. You know the deal. And please give me questions about anything. Those of you that watch me, know I will talk about anything. And if I don't know, I will try to find out. Okay? I'll try to find out. Except I can't figure out what Trump is doing with Iran. Oh, we're so close to the deal. And then Iran shows some bombs, shows some missiles. I like the deal, brother. I like the deal. He should just shut, once in a while, like I said, President Trump, I like the guy, but once in a while, he just got to shut the hell up, man. Just kick their ass and tell them, okay, you know, put your own government in there. We cleared the land for you. Go plant whatever you want to plant. But that's me, simplicity. Too complicated for these kidneys. But anyway, you have a great week. 4th of July coming up in 3 weeks. And I'll talk to you next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about again, but we'll see. Love you. Ahui ho. Ma'alama pono. And always from my heart to yours, the most heartfelt aloha. Bye-bye. Be safe. Have a great week.